How's it going, everybody? My name is TheStarkz and welcome to a brand new The Last of Us video. Today we have a lot of news pertaining to Naughty Dog, The Last of Us Remake, PlayStation 5, as well as Days Gone, and what's happening with a Days Gone sequel. So everything's going to be covered in today's video. Now I'm going to be reading off of this article on Eurogamer.net only because Jason Schreier's Bloomberg article is way too long and I don't want to bore everybody with the, mundane details. But basically, the headline states that Naughty Dog reportedly working on The Last of Us Remake for PlayStation 5. With it, it says that Days Gone 2 is not happening. So, the article states that Naughty Dog is working on a The Last of Us Remake according to a new report. Bloomberg said this project was in development at an unannounced new studio created within its little-known San Diego-based visual arts service group, but was handed to Naughty Dog after Sony had a change of mind. Meanwhile, Days Gone 2 isn't happening. Bloomberg said developer Sony Bend unsuccessfully pitched the sequel in 2019. I quote, "Although the first game had been profitable, its development had been lengthy and critical reception was mixed, so a Days Gone 2 wasn't seen as a viable option," Bloomberg's Jason Schreier reported. A team within Sony Bend is now helping Naughty Dog with a multiplayer game. A second team within Sony Bend was assigned to work on a new Uncharted game with supervision from Naughty Dog. But this is no longer happening, and Sony Bend is now working on a new game of its own. Bend's developer feared they might be absorbed into Naughty Dog, and the studio's leadership asked to be taken off of the Uncharted project, Bloomberg said. They got their wish last month and are now working on a new game of their own. Bloomberg contextualizes these these developments as Sony's obsession with blockbusters, which is stirring unrest at PlayStation Studios. The leadership of the new studio initially working on The Last of Us Remake have disbanded. Some staff at Sony Bend, including top leads, were unhappy with being assigned the Uncharted game and left. The suggestion is Sony is no longer interested in taking creative risks and instead has a fixation on teams that churn out that basically make these great hits. So Sony's recent reorganization of its Japan studio and subsequent staff exodus tallies with this new approach. Along with word Days Gone had not been beloved enough to get a sequel, Eurogamer had heard about the now scuppered plans for a new Uncharted game at Sony Bend, which was set to be a new chapter in the series separated somewhat from Naughty Dog's previous games. One person familiar with plans told us it had been intended as something of a reboot for the franchise, with one idea being for the prequel before Sony Bend departed the project. So this is a lot to take in. First of all, here are my thoughts. Here are my freaking thoughts. So I want to get Days Gone out of the way. Because I've been on record. I was very critical of Days Gone when it first came out. First off, I have like a love-hate. I wouldn't say hate. A love-dislike relationship with Days Gone. On one hand, is this beautiful, lush, open-world game, post-apocalyptic zombie, great story-based game. But on the other hand, especially during its release back in 2018, I think it was, is that it was really buggy. It had a lot of issues, and I felt like the narrative wasn't focused, right? And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that it was open world, which is another reason why I don't really love to indulge myself in open world games, because I feel like narrative comes at a risk of an open world design setting, because you have to prioritize the open worldness and make sure gamers are satisfied by the game in which they're playing, and at a loss of narrative structure and everything else in between. But the fact that Sony Bend wasn't given that that creative freedom to do a Days Gone 2 after they pitched it is so upsetting to me, because Sony Bend, they moved out. They have this new studio, I think it's in Seattle, or not Seattle, that state, Oregon. There we go. I almost forgot what state it was. And so I don't know. I feel like it's upsetting that Sony is trying to push them to do projects that they don't otherwise want to do. And I was really betting on a Days Gone 2, so it's a little upsetting. However, I want to talk about a part of the article that has me extremely excited, and that is the part talking about Sony Bend working on a multiplayer with Naughty Dog. So it says a team within Sony Bend is now helping Naughty Dog with a multiplayer game. A second team within Sony Bend was assigned to work on a new Uncharted game with supervision from Naughty Dog, but this is no longer happening, and Sony Bend is now working on a new title of its own. So, I mean, the fact that Sony Bend was working on a multiplayer game, or a team within Sony Bend was working on a Naughty Dog game, is really exciting. But the wording here is a little off. Like, I'm wondering if there is still a team currently at Sony Bend that is working on a Naughty Dog game, because it says a team within Sony Bend is now helping Naughty Dog with a multiplayer game, and a second team within Sony Bend was assigned to work on a new Uncharted game with supervision from Naughty Dog, but this is no longer happening, and Sony Bend is now working on a new game of its own. So I think the fact that there might be a team within Sony Bend still helping Naughty Dog with a multiplayer game is still up for, like, I honestly think that is still happening. But even if it's not, the fact that we know Naughty Dog is still, they still have a team that's dedicated to pushing out this Factions 2 game is really exciting in my opinion. And again, I do think it's a little upsetting that Sony Bend wasn't given that creative freedom to work on a Days Gone 2, and now they have to work on this new game, and that, people in their company were fared that they were going to become a part of Naughty Dog and all these things, because they want to be its own separate thing. And I felt like Sony Bend having their new studio and reworking their name, because it was called Bend Studio, or it was called Sony Bend. Now it's actually called Bend Studio. But it used to be, the fact that they had all these different steps to really make this company its own thing, and now they had to, because of Sony, work on a multiplayer game for Naughty Dog, and then obviously work on Uncharted. It's kind of upsetting. I don't like how Sony is kind of controlling particular studios in this case. I think it's ridiculous, but I am excited for a Factions 2, which I think we're going to be getting very, very soon, or at least an announcement or an official trailer from Naughty Dog and Sony for that matter. However, let's talk about the more important stuff, which is the Last of Us Remake for PlayStation 5. I mean, who asked for this? Ultimately, who asked for this? I mean, of course, as a fan of Naughty Dog and as a fan of The Last of Us, I'm obviously, it's cool to see it happen. But one, I don't have a PlayStation 5. And two, it's like nobody asked for this, right? Like, fans want a new IP from Naughty Dog. Fans want The Last of Us Part 3. Fans want Factions 2. Why is Sony, assumingly that Sony is the one that is pushing for The Last of Us Remake, telling Naughty Dog, hey, you've got to make The Last of Us Remake for PlayStation 5, because ultimately, we have to remember, Sony is a money-making corporation, and this is what I keep telling people, and this is the blind side of Sony that I feel like it was inevitable to happen. I mean, all this whole shift with having Sony put their games on PC to make more money, and now we have things like this, a remake for PlayStation 5, which no one asked for. Sony ruining their relationship with, or not, I wouldn't say ruining, but kind of tarnishing, kind of like, damaging the relationship with Bend Studio is so upsetting to me, because I really like Bend Studio. I think they had a lot of talented leads there, and the fact that obviously, we had Jeff Ross, which was a designer. I think he also worked on the story for Days Gone, and then obviously Garvin, I think is his name. Both of them left the company not too long ago. I think Garvin actually left the company in 2020, whereas I'm pretty sure Jeff left this year in 2021. But regardless, I mean, the fact that you have all these big leads leaving the company just shows that, they wanted to do a Days Gone 2, and the fact that Sony didn't really, trust them, or perhaps maybe it wasn't about trust, but maybe it was about the resources involved in creating a Days Gone 2, and the fact that they had to, force Bend into helping Naughty Dog with this multiplayer game, and then of course having them do this Uncharted game is so upsetting. But it's also really exciting to know that we might be getting a new Uncharted game. I mean, there was speculation about the San Diego studio making an Uncharted, an exclusive Uncharted video game. Was something that a lot of people had rumored about, and the fact that this actually might be happening is also really exciting. But it's also cool to know that it's going to probably be something of a reboot for the franchise, with one idea being for a prequel before Sony Bend departed the project. So obviously we don't know if these plans are still going to happen, but the fact that obviously Naughty Dog is working on multiplayer, and then possibly working on another Uncharted, and then of course the Last of Us Remake, this is just a lot of news. And the fact that Naughty Dog might be working on all two, I mean, obviously they're working on multiplayer, but also with the Last of Us Remake, and then of course an Uncharted game, like that seems like a lot for one studio to be handling. So I understand if Sony wanted, you know, a lot of this you know, pressure for development in general to be, you know, laid off of Naughty Dog's hand, and have Sony Bend kind of take some lead on helping Naughty Dog is cool. But at the same time, you know, Sony Bend had other plans, you know, the leads there, and obviously with, you know, two instrumental people who helped make Days Gone left, it's just crazy to me. I think Sony is playing their cards awful in this situation, and I really hope that Sony steps up their game and really kind of repair the relationship with not only Sony Bend but also Naughty Dog. So I honestly hope that you know, Naughty Dog doesn't cancel these plans with the multiplayer game. I don't know if Sony Bend's involvement means that this multiplayer game is like the progress on the multiplayer game is a lot more done. Like it's like it's really hard to tell. I mean, a lot of this is speculation ultimately, but this Last of Us Remake is strange because, again, nobody wanted a Last of Us Remake. I mean, I'm sure there are people out there who want a Last of Us Remake for the PlayStation 5, but it's unclear if it's going to be a remake in the way that Crash was, or if it's going to be a total remake like Final Fantasy, if they're going to, you know, redo all the graphics and have gameplay be similar to The Last of Us Part 2, if they're going to include Abby in this game, because a remake is different from a remaster. Remaster is just, you know, having the same assets but have it HD essentially, and have it be the same game and same multiplayer as it was in PlayStation 3, but in this case obviously PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4. But the fact that it's a remake for PlayStation 5 means we're going to get a graphical improvement, we're going to get gameplay improvements, and possibly you know, new scenes and story moments that are going to be completely different, or not different, but there's going to be more. So I'm a little worried about that, just because, you know, The Last of Us on its own it's its own thing. So I don't quite understand what Naughty Dog as well as Sony are trying to do here, but I hope that they fix, you know, their narrative here. I hope that they focus on what the fans want, which ultimately is a dedicated multiplayer game. That's one, from Naughty Dog. Two, a possible Uncharted game, which I know that has a lot of mixed reception. Some people want it, some people don't. I am indifferent. I don't care whether we get a new Uncharted game or not. The Last of Us Remake, I don't care about, because one, I don't have a PlayStation 5, plus The Last of Us on its own it's its own thing, so I don't see the point in making or remaking the game. And then obviously a new IP. I want a new IP from Naughty Dog. And then of course this devastating news for Sony Bend is the fact that we won't be getting a Days Gone 2 anytime soon is really upsetting to me, because I had high hopes for Sony Bend, or Bend Studio I should say, to make a sequel for Days Gone. So I'm curious to know everybody's opinion. I know there was a lot there, and I kind of confused myself as well, but there was just so much there's so much news here, and that was kind of one of the reasons why I actually didn't read Jason Schreier's Bloomberg article, is because, one, there's a lot of information, and I don't want to confuse anybody nor bore anybody. But I'm curious to know everybody's thoughts and opinions regarding this Last of Us Remake for PlayStation 5, a new Uncharted game, the multiplayer game that Sony Bend and Naughty Dog were working on, and do you think that a team at Sony Bend is still helping Naughty Dog with this multiplayer game, or do you think that, with the wording here, obviously it's a bit strange and a bit off, but do you think that there's a dedicated team at Sony Bend that are still working on a Naughty Dog multiplayer game, or do you think that the entire company is now working on its own thing? Let me know in the comment section below. And with that being said, of course, I've been TheStarkz. Thank you for watching. Peace.